Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new, please make sure that you like, comment and hit the subscribe button, pretty please, with the cherry on top. So if you've clicked onto this video, you want to know ways you could overcome the imposter syndrome. And firstly, I want to do a disclaimer before I even get further into this conversation, and that disclaimer is, I'm sorry to break it to you, you probably will never officially, like, completely, like 100% overcome the imposter syndrome. And this is, I'm only saying this from advice that I've, you know, got from a lot of people that I've spoken to, because it's something that I have had like a lot. I'm not a professional, like, is it a counselor or career counselor, or I don't know the right terminology for it, but I am just someone that has experienced the imposter syndrome for a few years now, not even just at my position in Google, but like prior to this I've had imposter syndrome, and I think it's something that's really that I was really passionate to talk about and find ways to kind of overcome it. So let me help you, babes. Like, let me help you. You could help me, like anyone. Guys, if throughout this video you have something that you think is really like pressing, something you feel people would benefit from learning, down in the comments, please, pretty please. Let's get interactive so you guys can really tell me, maybe I'm chatting utter, you know, maybe I'm chatting utter to it. Just to let you know, because I'm kind, because I'm sweet, and I don't want to waste your time, what I'm gonna do today is basically talk about 4 things. So kind of my definition of the imposter syndrome is basically, I kind of like to call it work insecurity. Yeah, it's because it is kind of like a business term, and yeah, it's basically if you're feeling inadequate, if you're feeling like you are a fraud, like you are doing fraud games in your workplace, like, not actual fraud games, but fraudulent games, you know, but if you feel like you are inadequate, you feel like you're not good enough to be in the position that you're in, yeah, this is the perfect video for you. And let's continue. With the imposter syndrome, like everybody, your mums, dad, cousins, like you have probably had some sort of form of imposter syndrome. So don't think like you've got, you know, some sort of condition or anything like that. It's just, I think if you don't feel nervous or anxious when you're at your workplace, or you don't feel kind of like challenged or clueless at times, then babes, you're probably in a position where you're not challenging yourself. You're in a job where you might want to switch it up and find something that makes you feel uncomfortable. And that's not to say, you know, whatever job you're doing is not challenging. I'm just saying healthy. I feel like it's healthy to have that kind of imposter syndrome, because with the imposter syndrome, what you are initially really doing, essentially, is analyzing yourself. If you're lucky and you've probably never experienced the imposter syndrome, if you're watching this and you're about to click off because you're thinking, Maz, you're about to talk about something I've never experienced in my life and I probably can't relate to, then I don't know what Kanye West energy you're on, and you know, like you're 100% in everything and all of this. Please tell me, give me the knowledge so we don't have to feel inferior at work. So just a brief overview on my experience with the imposter syndrome, I'll keep it short and sweet, is prior to Google I did an internship at a creative agency. This was a really cool first time, because obviously I don't have a degree. Make sure that you watch my video on that. Yeah, and I was just really nervous because already I kind of felt out of place anyway, because you're thinking to yourself, oh my god, I don't have a degree, these people are gonna know so much. But yeah, I did not actually feel completely out of place until someone just said a little, you know, a little microaggressive like little comment, and then I realized, oh okay, yeah, I'm completely different. And since they said something that made me really analyze the situation that I was in, I started to really analyze everything I was doing. I was, you know, I wasn't asking for feedback as much as I would, because I was scared, like, oh, they'll be like, oh, she's asking too many questions, like, why are you asking too many questions, you should know what you're doing. But little did I know, I was an intern, obviously I didn't really need to know everything. So yeah, so one of the things that really kind of made me start to really analyze everything that I was doing was that experience. And then coming into Google, which obviously I'm sure you guys know it's a big organization, and the office that I'm in, you know, it's got a lot of senior people within the office, and I am an apprentice, so obviously I don't have all the knowledge. I don't know the terminology. If I tell you Google has acronyms upon acronyms, it's something that I really started to struggle with within the first, let's say literally 6 months, and I've been there maybe 9 months. I really struggled with it. I was feeling inadequate. I knew I was feeling like, oh my gosh, why did they, you know, why did they give me this position? Why did they give me this apprenticeship? I felt super lucky, but felt like I was a fraud. I was a fraud. I felt like I'm lying. Like, why am I here? First tip is to maybe get a pen and paper at this point if you're watching and you want to really like get into it and be productive with it, is to write down, one, what's making you kind of nervous. By that you can kind of look at the situations that you're in that make you nervous, whether it's you're worried about public speaking and presenting, whether it's a situation where you're worried about public speaking and presenting, or it's a situation where you're even like, I know this sounds really minor, but I've had it quite a few times where you're actually nervous to even send like a certain email because you feel like you're not using the right terminology. Those are kind of the little bits of imposter syndrome I experienced, just because I didn't know the terminology of the industry that I was going in, especially as an apprentice. I didn't have much knowledge, so I really overthought. Like, if overthinking was a person, realized to kind of overcome or find ways to overcome the imposter syndrome is finding where they are stemming from. Once you know what is making you feel inadequate to other people within your workplace, what is making you feel uncomfortable in certain situations, or which situations you're feeling uncomfortable, then you are likely to kind of find an actionable plan to tackle these little issues that you may have. With that, it takes me to my second point. My second point is build a network. Build a network throughout work, because building a network means, and by a network I mean people that you can really speak to, not just about work, about, you know, how you're feeling. Be transparent. Being transparent is such a benefit, because if you're transparent, someone is most likely to be transparent back towards you. They're most likely to kind of say, if, you know, I'm having a bad day, yeah, I'm having a bad day too, you know, and then it kind of goes into a further conversation. So having that network and having those key people that you can talk to helps so much. It sounds kind of bad. When you know someone else is going through a similar situation to you, it makes you feel a little bit less anxious about the situation. It makes you feel a bit better, because you're thinking, okay, she's going through it too, okay, so I'm normal, it's fine. I can go through these feelings. So making sure that you have people that you talk to at work or even outside of work that are in a kind of a similar industry really does help. So my third tip is, myself, one of the key things that I struggled with was terminology, and feeling like I don't really know how to say the things that I want to say in a professional manner. And I could have been like, I mean, I could have just stopped and not really done anything about it. But what I've done is having like a keyword bank. So having a keyword bank is, if you find anything that you're really not understanding, if it's whether it's a word, or mentions like some type of system that you're not really familiar with, or if someone mentions you know, the best practices for certain things, or a case study or anything like that, having like I call it a keyword bank, but notes of certain things that you didn't know about, and writing them down and then going through them every now and then, because once you start seeing them and start reading them, you're likely gonna start to speak that way. You're likely gonna start to use that terminology. You're likely gonna reference to those case studies. My fourth tip is to ask questions. Ask questions. You are not stupid if you're asking questions. You're allowed to ask questions. If you don't understand something, like, the only way you're going to understand is to ask the question and do your research. I feel like a lot of people kind of struggle with that part of asking questions, asking for help. You're not weak for asking for help. You're genuinely not weak for asking for help. So it really does help if you ask questions, and it goes back to kind of like my second point where I spoke about building that network and having people you can talk to. Do you know one thing that I've said, like that I say if I'm in a really sticky situation, I know like, oh, this one's going to be a battle, like in a meeting where I know I'm not going to know what's going on, I'm just going to be like, oh guys, just to let you know, I'm sorry, but I'm going to be the one that's asking all this silly, stupid questions. And then everyone's like, oh, no worries, don't worry, feel free. Like, or even if you don't want to ask questions, then make sure when you're there and you're taking your notes, whether it's a meeting or whatever situation that you're in, note it down, and then you can go outside of your work time or whenever you get a break and go through those notes. And then I'm just going to give you a little special tip. Basically what I would do this is crackhead behavior, like you don't have to do it, like genuinely I would sit there and go in front of a mirror. I would get a mirror and talk to myself and tell myself 3 positive things that I'm really good at and 2 negative things that I think I can better. The reason I did this is because I think because as individuals, for some reason, we have this automatic thing where we just like to see such, you know, the negative in ourselves. We don't see much of the positive, and it's so hard to keep positive. So when I realized, oh, you're great at talking, Maz. You're great at talking. You're great at building relationships. Great at using your own initiative. Those are the 3 things that I would tell myself that are kind of positive. 2 bad things: organization skills, like no. Knowledge in a certain field or a certain platform or anything like that. Those are the 2 things. So now I've kind of reassured myself that you're good at something, you are worth it, you're really good. Now I have the 2 things that I know I need to improve on, and then you get that notepad out, go again and find actionable plans. Within everything, I think it's great to actually find like a strategy and actionable plan that you can do, rather than just writing them down and leaving it there. And there's loads of resources online or through point 2, speaking to people. You can find ways that they have best coped with that. Kind of like right now, I've told you my strategies and what's helped me. Now you can kind of go practice those things, or you can ask other people. Maybe there's something that I've said that you feel like you need to know more depth. Go ask a friend, go let them know. And girls, I just want to say something. We're gonna experience it a little bit worse because we're females. On top of that monthly period, God said have a little bit of imposter syndrome with that. Yeah, and not only girls, especially those within the BAME community, so I really hate that terminology, those within the BAME community, or especially like black girls, I can really relate, because obviously your girl's black. I can really relate with. We're gonna experience it a bit more on the severe side, but that's okay. I feel like the world is evolving, and I feel like the more we help each other and have these conversations, the better we're gonna learn to cope with them. And just to round off this whole video, I just want to say, firstly, whatever position you are in, recruiters or whoever interviewed you did not just give you the job for no reason. They gave you a job because you are you, boo. You are you. They gave you a job because you are Jonathan. They gave you a job because you are Kofi. They gave you a job because you are Sophia. Like, genuinely, these recruiters, they don't just look at you know, they're not just looking at your experience. They're not just looking at your qualifications. Obviously those 2 things like matter, and other factors matter, but one of the biggest things that I've realized, people genuinely hire you for your personality and for who you are. Like, they hire you for that reason, for who you are. Continue to uplift other people and seek feedback. The more you can get feedback, is the better you can kind of help yourself as well. So yeah, make sure that you like, comment and subscribe if you are new to my channel. Like, comment and subscribe. All right, see you in the next video. Bye.